Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms. You can find me over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin or on the Dynasty After Dark YouTube channel and Rumble channel. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Just putting that in here early, pumping the channel while I can. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. And today I'm excited to bring you running backs for the 2022 season that I think are basically free money going forward. So if you haven't heard just yet, last week I did my top 3 at each position that I think are the riskiest going inside the top 12 based on Dynasty League Football's May ADP, average draft position. This week, I'm going over my 3 best buys outside the top 12 that I think are going to finish inside the top 12 this year and possibly going forward. It's always hard to predict the future, but I just want to put that disclaimer in there. Number 1 running back I have here for you is Cam Akers with the Los Angeles Rams. And Cam Akers is an interesting prospect because there was a lot of hype around Cam Akers basically this time last year. He was going as like a top 5 running back, and the worst situation possible could have happened to him last year. He tore his Achilles in the offseason. And an Achilles tear for running backs is usually a death sentence. It's no comeback. It's goodbye, adios, nice knowing you. We're never going to see you again for fantasy purposes. But Cam Akers is a freak of nature. The dude's a beast. He was able to rehab his torn Achilles, in about 6 months' time, made it back to the playoffs. He started in week 18, actually, of the regular season last year and played all through the playoffs, just coming off an Achilles tear. It is crazy. Usually it takes guys a year to maybe even close to 50% of what they were before. He was 6 months, man. It's a feat of wonder. So Cam Akers comes back healthy in the playoffs, and he is not the most amazing running back. Go figure, coming off a torn Achilles 6 months later, he's not the best running back you've seen. Oh, and also, the Rams are playing all playoff contending teams who are very good against the run. Go figure, Cam Akers isn't very good. The funny thing is, if you look at Sony Michel's stats from the same stretch of games, it was about the same yards per carry as Cam Akers, but everyone seems to ignore that piece. So Cam Akers, the positives for him going forward and why I'm so excited and all aboard the hype train. It's year 2 for Cam Akers, and year 3 for Cam Akers this season, and he is going into a great offense. First off, they are the Super Bowl champs, so he's already got a Super Bowl ring. Gotta love that about your running back here. But it's Sean McVay's offense, and he almost uniformly uses one primary back. He'll use another guy as kind of a speller and to get the other guy some rest, but we've seen year after year, Darrell Henderson is not the guy for Sean McVay. They love Cam Akers. They used him in the playoffs in elimination games when all was riding on their team winning. They went to Cam Akers over Darrell Henderson. They believe in this kid, and you should too. He's 22 years old, and he is the prototypical size, speed, and just agility that you want to see in a running back for a dynasty context, right? He's 5'10", 217. He was a 5-star athlete coming out of Florida State. And yeah, he's just a beast of an athlete. So I'm all in on Cam Akers. If he can get back from 6 months after an Achilles tear, I think that there's no reason to think that after a year and a half, he's not going to be much better off than he was this time last year. So I think that he's going to be a steal. And currently he's going as RB16 in startup drafts, which means that there is a massive value. Everyone is using that Super Bowl and the playoff stretch as a negative against him, that he's never going to be able to return to form. But use that as a positive for you and go get him on your roster. So number 2 guy we got here is Josh Jacobs, and this is where we're really kind of dropping down quite a bit in the running back startup rankings. He's 24 years old, plays for the Raiders, and he is going as the RB24 off the board. Now, Josh Jacobs They did not sign him to his 5th-year contract. They didn't pick up his 5th-year contract this offseason with the new head coach in, what's his face? Josh McDaniels coming over from the New England Patriots. And Josh Jacobs is someone that a lot of people are fading right now, and I don't really know if it's the most logical thing. So if you look at Josh Jacobs, and it's crazy. People have made me into a Josh Jacobs just defender over the years because he's so undervalued in fantasy football. Last year, for example, the reason why I'm not worried about Josh Jacobs being in a committee, because that's the biggest fear, right? Oh, he's going to be a committee. Josh McDaniels coming over from the Patriots. They always use multiple backs, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter because if you look at his snap percentage for the last couple of years, 52%, 63, 69, nice, 64, 36, 49, 57, 66, 66, 75, 65, 70, 61. He was never the bell cow that people thought he was for fantasy football. He's always been in a committee. It's just sometimes he is able to produce a little bit better for fantasy. Now, you look at his year-to-year rankings in fantasy football over the last couple seasons. He was PPR running back number 11 last year, number 8 the year before, and number 21 the year before that. He's always been good, and he's just getting better. I don't have any reason to believe that he's not going to be able to pull a 60, 65% snap share in this offense. And if he's on the field, he's very good. And I think this offense is going to be a lot better with Josh McDaniels in this 2020 season. He's going to be able to bring a new concept over to the system, and you add in Devontae Adams, and it's just looking much better for this team as a whole. Now, why I'm excited about him for the long term is you can get him so cheap, and similar to Leonard Fournette, who was a former first-round pick, goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and has a resurgence in his career. You're buying him cheap. If he goes somewhere next year, and I don't know exactly where, I'd have to think through the teams a little bit here, but if he goes over to another team as a free agent, if they don't bring him back, they might bring him back at just a reduced salary. They don't want to pay his 5th-year contract salary, which is like $14 million for 1 year of production from Josh Jacobs, which I understand that. That doesn't mean that they're going to let him walk. They might try and re-sign him after the season. And if that's the case, then you're basically letting him fall for no reason at all. Now, if he were to go to a better system next year, let's say the Giants move on from Saquon Barkley and then they bring in Josh Jacobs as a replacement on a cheaper deal. Is anybody going to really complain about that? I don't think so. Josh Jacobs has a lot of potential. Let's say he goes to Buffalo next season. There's a lot of unknowns with running backs, and it's not always, and I know I'm painting the rosy, optimistic picture here, but they don't always end up in the best landing spots in free agency. I fully recognize that, but there are multiple situations over the last couple of years where running backs have gone to an upgrade. James Conner, for example, it didn't really fall off from Pittsburgh. It wasn't really an upgrade necessarily, but kind of a transfer there. Everyone thought that when he went to Arizona, it was going to be dead on arrival, but he was able to show how good he is in that system. Josh Jacobs could do the same thing next year with a new team. So I am very excited about Josh Jacobs for the long term, and especially at RB24 off the board. That's so cheap. So go get Josh Jacobs, win yourself a title this season, and then use him next year to win another one. All right, third guy we got here. Just talked about him a little bit there. James Conner. He is going as the RB number 25, not quarterback here. Let me fix that real fast. Live editing. Here we go. There we go. RB number 25 off the board in the May ADP on Dynasty League Football. And James Conner is very interesting. Why am I excited about him for 2022 and beyond? Because the biggest thing that people get wrong in Dynasty, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but people look at it as a 20-year system, right? What are we going to be able to do for the next 20 years with this roster? And that's not realistic. You want to shoot for 2 to 3 year windows to get as many titles as possible. And I think James Conner is the perfect option for that right now. He was the number 5 overall running back last season. They signed him to a 2-year contract extension, 3-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals, and they paid him a lot of guaranteed money to be the starter for the next 3 years. They are going to use him a lot. And the one nice thing about the Arizona Cardinals offense is that it is very explosive. There's a lot of scoring opportunities. Now, last year you can say, 15 touchdowns is a little bit of an outlier. That's fair. I get that. But I don't think that if the Cardinals are able to get it going this year, that he's going to have less than 10. So I think that there's a lot of possibility there. And then you look at what he was able to do in the receiving game, and I don't think that it's going to be that big of a drop off compared to last season. So he's going to have around 40 catches yet again, so he's going to be solid there in the passing game. And the other biggest thing against James Conner is just the health, right? And he's older, and he's always had a few banged up seasons. Last year he played 15 games out of 17 total. He missed 2 games at the end, which kind of hurt you a little bit if you needed him going into the playoffs. But for the most part, he was able to carry your team when he was healthy. And that's the biggest thing with James Conner is when he's healthy, he's very productive for fantasy football. He has always put up a lot of points when healthy. So you know that when you got him, you can play him and you can plug him in and you'll be just fine. So I am all in on James Conner as a cheap option for the 2022 season. And I think that he's going to be the focal point for the next couple of years, and Arizona is going to utilize them. And I know there's a lot of rumors that after this season, if they don't get a playoff berth, that they're going to fire Cliff Kingsbury. They're going to basically blow it all up, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that's necessarily accurate. I wouldn't be so worried about that personally, because if you look at the Arizona Cardinals over the last 3 years, they went from first overall pick, top 10 pick with Josh Rosen, first overall pick the next year with Kyler Murray. Then they won like 6 games. Then last year they won like 10 games, and they're just literally improving every single season. So there's no reason to think that they're really in any hot seats for the team. I think that's more of a media generated thing. So I think that this coaching staff has at least this year and next year to kind of prove what they have. And I think that James Conner is lined up for 2 years minimum of very good fantasy success. And for RB25, when I think that he's going to finish top 10 this season, I think that's way too cheap. And you can get that as a steal, aka free money. So that is my top 3 Dynasty running backs to buy this offseason. And the best thing about it is I think you can get most of these guys, maybe not Cam Akers, fairly cheap in your leagues. Go throw out and offer some of these guys and see what they would cost from your league mates. So that is the running back position. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Like I said, I appreciate you guys. Please, if you could, just tell your friends if you like this content. I'm really trying to push the podcast, really creating a lot of content for you guys, and I'm really excited for what I got coming up in the next couple of weeks. So if you can, please tell a friend. Tell them about the podcast, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Follow me over on Twitter. I appreciate you guys. Have a good night.